If you have any questions for anyone from Power Rangers SPD, please line up in an orderly fashion, and I will screen your questions to make sure you're not super weird.
The weirder the better.
Exactly. And then
by anyone from SPD means me.
The rest of the SPD Rangers are on their way, and right now we have the mastermind behind SPD. It's Greg Aronowitz.
How's it going? You guys having a good time? Yes! Pretty cool, huh? There's no questions? Do I have to ask myself questions?
They're coming in, so until then, Greg's the man.
Every day. Oh, I see your question. Yeah. What questions?
Down here. Down here.
Well, line up over here for the questions. But don't stop asking the question, just saying for everyone.
I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the process of taking Deca Ranger and converting it into an American Power Ranger series. Like, what were your initial thoughts and how did you go about, because I know it's sort of similar to Deca Ranger, but how do you go about changing it to suit an American audience?
Well, I mean, the suiting the American audience is the key because the shows are super cool. They come from Japan, but it's super surreal. Like they just have a whole different kind of, sensibility about them. So, oh, look, there's Rangers.
We got the whole crew here. Here we go.
I really see You can answer this question, Monica. What's the process of changing the Sentai footage to the American sensibilities?
It's a very difficult process, actually. I have no idea.
It's like a machine, you press a button.
Yeah.
No, I'll answer really quick so you can get to the cool people here. But it was basically like, one of the biggest issues for us was we were one of the first seasons that finally caught up because when Saban started the show, there had already been like a decade of footage that they could pick from and stuff. By the time we got to SPD, they were still filming when we started. So I have only seen like 2 or 3 episodes. And they were like, okay, now create a whole season. And we had no idea where it was going. Like even in the middle of our filming, we didn't know how their show ended. So we were creating these storylines, but they would be able to throw curveballs at us at any time. So the biggest thing for us was just picking the theme. And it was a cop show, and they were like a police, like a precinct. And one of my first things was like, no, I want to make this like more kid-friendly. And we just made it to like the academy, where you were being trained. So that was kind of, our direction, and then we just wrangled out of their show anything we could to support what we were doing. Well, let's now talk to the Rangers. They're cool. Where's Brent?
Brent is in the little bush.
Do you have any questions?
Questions are coming from this side. Ask us anything, man.
Hey guys, so my name is Steven. I actually came to the SPD party a little late. I didn't watch it when it first aired, but I have since watched it on Netflix. It's become one of my favorite seasons and my favorite of the whole Disney era. Questions for Greg. One of the reasons that it really appealed to me, besides its scope, which I always like, is that it was able to pay a lot of homage and Easter eggs to the previous seasons. I'm just wondering if that came from you or that came from just various people in the production staff, like having Aquishan as like one of the trainers and
Yeah, well, I mean, I was definitely a fan because it was just such a huge franchise. It was just so cool. But in terms of like bleeding in those timelines, that was definitely like Jackie and John, because I feel like I came in, I was like the new kid on the block, and I was like, let's just be different, you know, and I was just pushing to make it different, and they were really there as anchors to keep trying to pull the original stuff into that shit. So you know they were able to actually go through all the different seasons and find places where stuff could line up. And then you guys too. There was just some things like I wanted to have different Rangers, like past Rangers in there, and we would take a helmet and modify it, and instantly you guys would know like if it was time for or something like that. And then and so everyone wanted to know like, oh yeah, like who's Sky's father? That was not something we were even thinking about, but because. So because you guys were so on it, we started adding that stuff in there. Thanks.
Hi everybody. First off, I want to say that I love this season because of the chemistry you all had. You guys really felt like friends, like really cared about each other. And that's really important, I think, in a Ranger season, is that you guys care about each other and you want to fight and protect each other and the world. My question is, where do you see your characters going after the events of Ending Part 2? Like, we know that because of Bridge, he says that Sky is becoming top dog, no pun intended, at Cooper's expense. But where do you see your characters going since Endings?
Good question.
I think Jack had like 8 or 9 children. And he started a charity, for the children. Not his children. Yeah, exactly. Jack's just doing it.
Well, you obviously touched on, you guys have seen Bridge come back and he was Red Ranger. I've moved on to Shadow Ranger, but actually, I think there's like a poster there too, and there's like a Shadow Ranger's got like a shadow girlfriend. So I think I might be hanging up in space with Red and having 8 kids. With my Shadow Ranger girlfriend.
Z is probably taking care of Brandon's 8 kids. I don't want to do this anymore. So he's like, oh my God, here we go again, Jack. Here we go. Yeah.
What about Sid?
She's my shadow girlfriend.
No.
I think Sid probably would have had a family and maybe came back to SPD in like a consulting aspect to be the new generation of cadets.
He probably also had a new hit record and went on an intergalactic tour.
Her songs on iTunes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
So, as you guys probably know, SPD was probably the first season that had more than just 6 Rangers. It had quite a few Rangers. So, I'd like to know from each of you guys, which one of those SPD Rangers were your favorites besides your own characters?
I like Cat. Was she a Ranger though?
Yeah.
Cat. I enjoyed her. What about Sam? Who's in the kid? Sam? What was the deal with that guy? I never knew this.
I think every season ends up with some kind of thing where you're like, character's going to die in 4 episodes, so let's not make a big deal of him. We didn't have that, so there was a bunch of surprises. Like every couple months, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, there's another Ranger that's going to be in there." And we got to a point by the time Omega came that the network was like, "No more actors. Like you cannot hire another actor." So Bruce was like, "Well, let's just have like a floating ball." You know, and I don't know. Like for me, like I grew up with movies like Tron. Remember the bite? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. It makes sense. And you know, I didn't really make sense.
It literally was a ball.
Yeah, like a tennis ball. But I did like the way that the whole Sam and Omega Ranger thing connected. Yeah. We tried to resolve it at the end by having that one brief moment where you get to see him. And by the way, that was one of the main makeup artists that was just a good-looking guy. And I was like, you know what? Put that suit on. You're in
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Question. From Decker Ranger, SPD was obviously the name from Decker Ranger. How did you guys come up with Space Patrol Delta?
Well, it was a thing where, you know, in a lot of, again, other seasons, there's a name, like a Sentai name, and then they like change it, but it always like implies kind of like Magi Ranger became Mystic Force, stuff like that. There was talk of just trying to come up with an original name, but every prop and every costume was branded with SPD, you know? So we were like, well, let's just make that work, because all the logos and it was all cool stuff. So there was just one of those weird, like, big corporate network meetings where 20 people sat in a room and just started yelling out, you know, special people delivery. And ultimately, it's just Space Patrol Delta just made sense. But if you notice, we mostly just call it SPD. Yeah, we had to come up with what it meant, but
Right. Oh, people delivered. That was funny.
Okay, first of all, I want to welcome you here. SPD was one of the best seasons of Power
This
Morphicon.
guy. Yeah, every time I hear this guy, oh man.
Can we just cheer really loud? Because I keep hearing the evening calls really loud. Yeah. Go up. Can we do that?
And my question is, who would you guys say is the toughest criminal your characters faced?
Rob the bank.
yeah. The plant girl, sorry, this is where we really show that we haven't paid attention.
We know very good.
But in Bridges episode.
Yeah, she robbed the bank.
Yeah.
She was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Omni ultimately was the one that almost, you know, knocked it out. Although the A Squad gave you a run for the money.
Yeah. I had to, you know, I had to go with Jackson Morford to take on.
Heroes come in all colors.
Oh, I said Bugglesworth. Do you guys remember? Yeah, that's down.
He was by far the weirdest.
Yeah, he was the ugliest thing to look at when you're on set.
And
Like,
do you guys know that Kelson, who played Boom, did that weird voice for that character too? Yeah, that was.
And Alicia?
I think Grum.
Okay.
Emperor, yeah.
Cool. Thanks, man.
My questions for Scott. Scott, how did you react when Jack handed you his morpher in order to avenge your father's death?
you know, the whole battle between Jack and Sky from the get-go, even when we touched base with the crew, he's talking, he's like, you know, what would you do if I appointed Jack, Red Ranger, or Sid? And there's that whole laughter of like, you know, he's not even a Ranger. But then our characters grow, and that's, you know, like you touched on how the chemistry is, and, you know, we became, you know, Jack and Sky were always at each other's backs, always at each other's neck and neck, but, you know, when it came push came to shove, we had each other's back. And I think Jack understood that, you know, when becoming the leader of the Power Rangers and actually handing it over, it was more something of a personal battle for me, and, you know, knowing that, you know, they're going to be there to support me no matter what happens. It was to avenge my father. Come on, again, heroes from all ways. That's my answer for everything, okay? Heroes, come from all colors, hashtag.
Personality-wise, how are you guys like the character on the show?
My question is, right? Because you get to not be in the show, just to watch us.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it?
How are you like the character?
Personality-wise, how are we like our characters on the show?
I'm serious.
Yeah, wow. No, there's definitely like traits that are not the character and the actors do not line up, but there's at the core, it's frighteningly, there's like a scary resemblance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, describe it.
Oh shit, what's happening, right?
That's pretty cool. No, it's part of it was that we were able to really quickly adapt and bring more of the personality as we got to know the actors. But we're talking about like within a few episodes to make the characters more like them. But when I would hang out with them when we weren't on set, I still felt like I was hanging out with B Squad, you know, because all their interacting and everything. All their interacting, yeah, I don't mean B Squad like not grouping. I mean like it was still the same characters on set were the same characters off set because all of their interaction would be very, very similar. And there's lines of dialogue that would be from a dinner that we had that we lifted and put right in the thing, like bridge and.
I think we were out one night. I think at some steakhouse in the Havana. I actually said to Chris, "Heroes come in all colors," and then they took that line of dialogue and put it in the show.
I know buttery
we can.
Yeah, listen, I know you said you got some serious clothes yet. That I was like, on set, when the cameras were rolling, I made me smile. I made me smile.
No, but here's the thing, I'm not talking about like clones, I'm talking about like, you know, Sky was very serious and Chris is not serious at all. Like it was the hardest part of my day every day was trying to get Chris to be serious for 5 minutes so I could film him. But he, at the core of Sky and at Chris, they're both like this alpha male, like, you know, they want to lead, Chris always wants to like do the right thing, wants to be in control, and, you know, same Brandon is like very like, you know, the thing that I say like every day, and it comes from him saying it, and people ask me something, I'm like, oh, I'm easy like Sunday morning, right? And that was Jack, you know? Because Jack was kind of like, yeah, I gotta get it done, but, you know, like I'm not gonna stress about it. So it was,
and I was like, right now.
There were just a lot of similarities. And, you know, one of my favorite bits that you guys may never get to see because they got cut out of the final episode, but when they're all in the cage on Rome's ship, and they're talking about like Piggy betrayed them, and you know, Alicia has a line about like, yeah, who would have thought that he would have brought her out in the end of the world? And she kind of looks at her nails and was like, oh, I broke a nail. And you know, it was like, no, this is real. Because the thing was, you know, she's a superhero and she's like saving the world and has all this power, but at the same time, she's still just a normal person and a normal girl. And I really liked that, you know, duality that all the characters had. That came really from their personalities.
The second question is, what would it have been like if you had teamed up with the following season's Force?
Would
We would have kicked their ass.
You remember what happened to the A Squad? Enough said.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so there are some infamous lines in the first episode of SPD where Kruger says something to Sky to the equivalent of, and if I made Sid the red, and Sky says, Sid? She's a girl. Yeah. I have to ask, how did that come along and how did it not get at the cutting board? I don't know what to call it.
I mean, that's pretty easy. That was our core mantra. Like the show was about equality, and heroes come in all colors, heroes come in all sizes, heroes come in all genders and preferences. It's like we didn't want it to be. We didn't want to have just the archetypes. We wanted to kind of point out to kids like this is not the way to think. So even though Sky was a hero, he was kind of setting up for like other kids to be like, yeah, I agree with that, and then we go like, yeah, but this is why that's wrong, So I mean, I would have fought to the death if they wanted to take that out of there, because I think there's little things like that throughout the whole season, stuff about best friends and betrayals and I don't know, there's a million examples, but that was our core thing, to kind of show that you need to treat everyone as an equal in order to rise to power.
Yeah, I mean, I think too is also like I remember this where people have heard that line right off the bat, and then people come up to me and say, at first I didn't really like it. I hate like as soon as Sky drops that line, I'm just like, ooh. And at first, yeah, people were like, I didn't like your character, but as the season grew, which is why I think SPD became so popular, because a lot of our audience grew with the show and the characters as people. So.
Yeah, and that's also an important thing, that you have to have arcs, you have to have characters that you don't like, and then you grow to love them, or characters that you love, and you're like, oh, I'm not so sure. I directed the first 3 episodes, and they were loving all the footage of the first 2, and then by the 3rd one, I got a note that, Sky's got to loosen up, like, have him unbutton his shirt, and I'm like, no, that's his thing. He's by the book. He presses his uniform. Right? He's like that military guy. And they insisted that we chill him out a little bit. And I don't know. I just thought that was weird because he would eventually, but they didn't want it by the 3rd episode. They wanted it somewhere in the mid-20s.
Good question.
Thank you.
I just wanted to know if there were any trains.
So this is like the last. No, my parents were out visiting me, and we all, the men, we all had one trailer, and we had to share a trailer. So Chris and Matt, one morning, decide to take my camera, stick bananas in their cadet suits, and take pictures of them. Cut to me downloading the photos with my mom, and crop shots of Chris's banana.
We used to all because in New Zealand they have a saying when you're on set that if you're doing a take and someone interrupts the take with some kind of noise, a cell phone, and it would be called slap, right? And when a slap meant that at the end of the week someone would have to buy a case of beer for the set. So what would end up happening is
After rap.
Yeah, after rap. Not rooting for them. Sometimes. Always after. But we would go around, once we got to know the cast and crew and everybody, we'd go around and try to people would leave their cell phones lying around and be like, this was before the whole iPhone and Facebook thing. Facebook wasn't even invented.
Yeah, we didn't have
It
smart.
was just coming out. It was all flip phones. We would open up someone's flip phone and turn it around and get somebody to call their phone during a serious take. And I'd go off and they'd be slap, and you'd have to buy a case of beer at the day. So that was pretty fun. Or there was one time I think you guys pranked me really bad. We were all supposed to run in one time, and then I was like, you guys ready? I'm running first, and I don't see these guys behind me. And I start running, and they all fake and stop. And I come running in by myself. Yeah.
We were always trying to keep ourselves well entertained.
But it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, again, for me, the core of the story was, in that particular case, was that in all of the previous incarnations of Power Rangers that I see, it was like the kids were just like handed the power and became the Rangers. And maybe in the first episode, they're like, oh, we're not quite sure how to do this, but then they were Power Rangers. And I really wanted it to be, I wanted SPD to be a story about having to earn that and having to learn and grow. And also about like having idols and like projecting more onto idols than yourself. So A Squad was supposed to be like the best of the best, the elite, and B Squad kind of always felt that they were the underdogs, and you know, and the whole academy did. They were like the bench warmers that weren't quite ready. So I wanted to kind of make it this thing where, you know, it's like even your idols have flaws, you know, and it is a kid show, so we went like in big broad strokes. So imagine if the people that you thought were the best, that you could never be as good as, go bad. And that just makes, you know, you and everything you believed in like better, because it's, you know, you're the pure one then, you know. So it was them facing their idols turned their enemy and they had the best of them. So that was the idea. If they were brainwashed, it didn't seem like it would be as powerful, because then, you know, these guys would still have to live with the question of like, well, what if, you know, what if they weren't? We might not keep them. So it was a personal choice.
SPD is a really strong season.
Oh, thank you. You know, I want to say, I see Jackie sitting back here. I don't know why she's not up here with us, but we got to give her a big hand because she was. Is he behind him here? Did he? I saw him earlier. Hiding behind a beard.
How did you guys come up with the idea to have the A-Squad Red Ranger be female?
Well, in my first meeting, when they called me in and said, what would you do different if you could have this job? I was like, girl Red Ranger. Just go at the door.
And then they cast me.
It was the hair in the headshot. It looked like.
We'll tell you, don't call us.
Yeah, they were like, okay, yeah, let's not do that. But what else might you do, you know? And so when the whole A Squad thing was kind of like solidifying, I was like, come on, like it'll only be like this little bit. And there's actually an interesting story. We don't see the Rangers as you know, we only see the uniforms in the beginning. We don't see them until the end. But we recorded the stress signal that they get in the beginning, and we had a woman record it, and then we like manipulated it so you couldn't really tell like, who it was. But there was a fan who, like the minute it aired, was like, I'm going to find out who this actor is. And he was a sound engineer. And he took the sound and like broke it all down, and instantly on Ranger Board it was like, the Red Ranger is a girl. And we were like, but he like decoded it, and you know, but I still had to basically fight all the way up until the end when we revealed to have them officially make it happen. I had a dinner with the guys, the producers from Japan, and I said, listen, this is what I want to do. And they outright said, if you do that, we will never work with you again. Which may be why, you know. But then after we did that, like now there's other, you know, girl Red Rangers. So.
Thank you guys for a great season.
What?
My name is Quinn. So I believe next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary of SPD. I was wondering, it's the third season's airing in Japan right now, still two picture. They're trained to the numbers 1 through 5. I was wondering, if it was offered the chance, would you guys come up and do kind of a movie figures special with that kind of suits as they have the same number of suits, kind of just use the trains as words, just for an entertaining movie in the series? Jewish SPD meeting kind of for the suits
For the
that
tenure. Because the Rangers and
That
may
would-
not have that.
Brandon has a very busy schedule.
Brandon's famous. I don't know if you noticed that.
I don't know. Yeah.
I mean,
It had to be done right.
I think we will.
Yeah, it has to be done right. I mean, we keep talking about, doing our projects together. Yeah, that'd be fun. That's all. No, not being like just hanging out.
You guys all look the same though, it's weird.
Me again. So at some point the decision was made to have the Nova Ranger or create the character of the Nova Ranger and put her just in the finale. Why did you choose, or Greg, why did you choose to create a new character just for the finale? Why? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that was also a footage thing. I think she was in the footage. But she's also hot. We're like, yeah, that's good. I mean, we're more Power Rangers, for sure. And the costume was super awesome. But it also made sense because, like we were talking about earlier, the whole Omega Sam thing, like it was just a weird, open-ended thing. So it made sense that somebody from his time came back to get him,
And what number was she officially?
Omega didn't even have a number, right? Oh, 6? Oh, sorry.
It was Roman numerals.
Oh, no, see? Sorry, American education system. I thought it was like a design. That really messes up our story. Why is he from the future when they're only up to number 6? There's like 100 other Rangers that pop. God. It still looked cool.
Ran out of numbers.
So have any of you ever tried Bridges' thinking pose? Have any of you tried to do it? Or?
Never, because he looked miserable while he was doing it.
Yeah, he doing his head. He can practice that.
That was one of those things though that he was all about that in the beginning, and then probably through the halfway through the first day of filming, he was like, yeah, let's not do that so much anymore. And we started doing weird things like making little apple box or making little things that he could lean on so it would look like he was upside down, but he wasn't upside down.
Then he flip up and then his head, his blood rush back down. He's like, what was the line?
He hated wearing his gloves too.
Oh, yeah.
He hated it.
That seemed like a lot of things. Cheers.
Hi guys, SPD awesome series, hands down, fantastic. Couch, can't miss. So, my question is mostly directed towards Greg here. Why did you guys just? Yeah, I know everyone's asking me questions. Probably not the way we're meeting.
That's good, because I was just on a panel with all of the real guys that created the original series, and I was just like, how do you even, I was just happy to be there. But hit me, I'll have a great answer for you.
So my question is, how come you decided to change Doggy Kruger from Sentai? He was a furry dog. How come you guys decided to change him into Scaly?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, no offense, I love, and this isn't just because it was just season that I worked on, but I think the Deca Ranger designs are some of the coolest in the entire history of the franchise. The uniforms and the suits and everything are just so cool. But in all honesty, Doggy Kruger, I basically think of him as the 1984 Winter Olympic mascot. He was just he looked like something you would see at a corner aisle at Bed Bath & Beyond. There was talk in the very beginning of just losing him altogether, because it was hard enough for these guys to be serious and convincing with the one we had. But can you imagine if it was nothing moved. It was a stuffed animal. It was
Yeah, but the thing is that you would have never put that on your sets.
No, I was like, no, that's not going to happen. So they were like, well, let's cut cut it. And when I say they, I'm talking about the mouse. But the thing was, all of the logos, just like the SPD letters, like everything had the dog on it. So we have to have the dog. So one of the first things I did was redesign it, and I was like, let's not do the fur or anything because it is hard to not have it be campy and have it be like plushy. So I was like, let's make him a real alien dog and just go like a reptilian thing. But I kept the silhouette the same so that it matched the logo because I really wanted this hat.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I was just wondering, because John Chu's never done a con or anything like that, what was it like working with him, and was it really awkward when you have conversations with him with this like mask on that you have to get their hours beforehand to put on, and what do you think of wearing it?
John Chuy was awesome.
Yeah.
He used to come to his house and talk to his family and like just as a person, John Chuy is like just a really amazing human being. Yeah, like we'd all love to see him.
Let's get John Chuy to a con, guys.
Like two of the biggest, like if you saw them in a dark alley, you would just lay down and die. The nicest guys. And I seriously, both of them, I thought they were gonna kill me multiple times because I, was gluing all that stuff on them and putting in the head. Like they endured some intense stuff.
Yeah, I think at one point he almost came close, right? We were filming outside.
Oh yeah, I mean, anytime Brown Kruger had to be out in the summer.
They had a team, each one had five teams.
Yeah, but all those stunt guys, jumping around like crazy out the, yeah.
What about me? Multiple times, that was real. I was doing all of that.
5 minutes. 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 5 minutes.
You have time for one more question.
Come on, let's do it.
Just wanted to ask the Rangers, did you guys audition for any other Ranger colors besides?
Yeah, I know. What did that mean for Bridge or for Jack?
Jack.
For Jack? Okay, yeah. So I read for Jack.
You weren't black enough.
I tried to go dreadlocks for I just couldn't, and I couldn't get the whole swagger. This guy's got swag. It's like swag. Hashtag Jack swag. I wanted a slow-mo, there's one slow-mo that Jack has where it's in one of the beginning episodes, and his dreadlocks just go like. I want to slow-mo. But no, during the audition, I read for Jack, and then you had me go outside and was like, here, take these, and be more Harvey, be more straight like Logan. I was actually sitting on Matt and I were like auditioning at the same time. And I looked at Matt and was like, Green Ranger? We met Brandon in the airport, we were flying to New Zealand, we walked up to this lounge, and we both kind of I met Matt earlier, and we caught eyes with Brandon, and we're like, Power Rangers? right away. It's that great.
This is true.
So the most important question we've all been wanting to know for years is, when Doggy Kruger morphed, where did his nose go?
That was great. Great question, man. Great question. This guy right here asked a very great question.
I always tell everybody that if Chris Violette can fit his helmet,
Thank you guys so much for being here.
That is it for me here at Power Morphicon 2014. Hope you all enjoy it. See ya.
Just so everyone next door can wonder what the hell's going on over here, what they're missing. Let's get
Give it up for SPD.
What a way to end it.